Well, hello, coaches. Welcome back. Coach KW here. Sorry, I had to take last week off. Just lots of stuff going on. It is the dead middle of the season. And for my town, I'm also in charge of setting up tryouts. So a lot of mental energy being expended both between just getting my team ready to play and dealing with tryouts and trying to figure out dates. I've also been running goalkeeper training, which I hope to make a video on real soon. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit of an epidemic that I have noticed in my first 4 games of the season. You may know that I coach currently a fifth grade team, U12. In our league, it's fifth and sixth grade, but in our town, we make our teams by grade so they stay together and they're more consistent in terms of their growth and their development because half the team isn't getting swapped out every year. And so that's a little bit challenge when you're in the fifth and sixth grade bracket. And we also moved up from Division 3 to Division 2. There are 5 divisions in our county league, if you will, and they've moved up. But it's been interesting making that move up. What we're seeing is a lot more, you would expect, bigger, older kids, and that's what we're running into. It's a little bit of a difficult. We've lost one, tied two, and won our first game. And that first game was another fifth grade only team from another town that does what we do for the right reasons, frankly. Good on them. But what I've found more interesting is, besides dealing with the size factor, is something else. And we're going to look at some actual game video and look at that. And we're going to play a little game and see if we can all spot what's going on there. I want to thank everybody for the likes, the subscribes, the shares. Subscriber count just went over 1,500 yesterday, which I was super pleased. Took a screenshot just because it's a nice round number. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please could you just hit the button? It's free. It helps me out, helps the channel out. What I really love is seeing all the shares. YouTube gives me a weekly update and tells me how many times videos have been shared. And every week it just knocks my socks off. If you're finding it so valuable that you want to share it with other folks, that means the world to me. And if you're one of those new people, please hit the subscribe and share it perhaps to somebody else. I really appreciate it. So let's take a look at some video clips. We're going to play a little game of, we're going to look at clips from the 4 games, one of which is different than the other 3. We're looking to see what the commonality is, and then we're going to talk about it real briefly. All right, so we got our first game up and running here. You've seen a few seconds of these clips as we're going through. I will say that all this footage you're going to see is from our new replayer camera. We've been partnering with them to test out. They're kind of a startup. You may have seen their ads on social media and such. And so we've been a kind of a partner with them, trying to get these products off the ground. It's been a little start and stop, but we've got our unit and we're running it now every week and testing it for them. Unfortunately, they are out of cameras until probably the end of the calendar year. So a little bit of a struggle there if you're looking to get one. I will have more info about this later because certainly it's a different model than some of the other kinds that are out there, and frankly, much cheaper, especially if you are part of an association. Most of the other products charge per team and or player and seem to almost be a pyramid scheme if you're really being honest with yourselves. Hopefully once they have some more units back in, they'll give me a referral link and maybe you'll consider using that when you look at one of these. But we'll just watch through some of this. I'll skip ahead a little bit as we go through. If the camera seems like it's moving a little bit too much, remember we're at 2x, so it's going to highlight anything if the wind is blowing, etc., etc. So that's not anything to do with the camera itself. But I think we've watched enough of this footage here to talk about. Uh, I think hopefully you've seen some tendencies in the red team here. Um, that's my kid trying a very ambitious shot from midfield. We tied this game 2-2, which was frustrating. Uh, we beat this team last fall 7-1, but this was the holiday weekend, and the coach told me they called up some players from the quote unquote lower team. And when I tell you that the 3 or 4 kids that they brought up all were 5'6", probably dwarfed most of my players by a good 4 or 5 inches. It's one of the struggles right now we're having in U12 is that we're a fifth grade team, even though we play against fifth and sixth. Moving up that one division has made it much more challenging in terms of the size of the kid. And I wonder if it goes into what we'll talk about after all these video clips. So I'm going to stop this clip. We'll go to another game. So here we are, second game. We're on a turf field. We're in the green again. And you can see one of my big frustrations with a lot of these way fields that we play on in our league is this 9v9 field is not a 9v9 field. It is incredibly short. You can see where the edge of the box is and where the sideline is. Incredibly narrow as well. If I'm being generous, this is probably a 7v7 field. This whole field is supposed to be a 9v9 field all the way across, and I don't think it was 60 yards from sideline to sideline, if that. So really, really tight, which made it really difficult to play here, especially 9v9. It was also terrible turf. It was like a carpet, so the ball just rolled. We don't play on turf usually, so it's really tough for my players, but on bad turf, it's like a carpet and there's no friction. That's a bit of a struggle. But we'll just watch a little bit here of what's going on. Again, we're playing another team in red. Uh, this team had some good ideas, some good thoughts about what was going on in terms of play, but there's definitely some commonalities in this one as well. Maybe I don't highlight every clip that should be happening here. Somehow we did not concede. It was an interesting day to say the least here. We had one sub, which we always have a few subs, maximum three, but we could talk about roster construction sometime in the future. Let's see if I can skip ahead, grab some other clips here. We'll continue here. This is a good breakout by this team, but again, you can see how far and fast that ball moves on the carpet, and they were used to it, and is part of the way they play. A little bit of a hint of what I'm alluding to here. But you can also see the size of some of these kids against my kids. There's some big boys on that field. Here we are. It's our third game. This is the one that really kind of inspired this video, to be honest with you, as I watched this game from the sideline. Again, we're at home. We're playing another team with some really big units, to be honest with you. You can see the size difference from most of the kids on the field. But this is the game that really got me thinking, like, what are we doing here? What's happening? Again, we ended up tying this game 2-2. Again, our first three games, we were incredibly unlucky in terms of, just even our percentages. I keep stats on shot percentages and things like that. And we were having good shots. We were having excellent shots, and we could not put them on net, or we'd hit the goalie, or the post, or a blade of grass. It was just seemed to be the first couple of games. It's been super frustrating for everybody. The kids have been working hard, but early in the season it was tough for us because we didn't have a ton of practice with the whole team. Just the way the weather and everything else is. And then last week I lost an entire week of practice because it basically poured the entire time. We're going to see the last game after this. We were the only two teams to play in the entire division because we were in the afternoon and on turf. Everybody else canceled because it was just underwater type of deal. Just a little bit deeper into the second half. And one of the things that also frustrated me is that my team started to mimic the tactics of the teams we were playing against, which basically meant we fell into their trap in some regard. And that frustrated us to no end. But I'm hoping I've picked enough clips here to kind of get a sense of what this whole game looked like. I wish we could watch the whole game together and get a sense of what's going on. But that would be an incredibly boring video, to say the least. All right, we'll jump into the last one. So here we are in our most recent game. Again, we played away on turf. It's not something we're used to, although this field at least I felt like it was in the ballpark for being the right width. I mean, an American football field is 53 and a third yards wide. Um, Although that's pretty close. 9v9 should be anywhere from 50 to 60 yards wide. And so 53 is in the right ballpark. And I didn't count up the field markings, but it felt like it was the right length in that 75-yard length or so, because that's what kind of where you want to be on that. Super unlucky there. But this team we're playing against, we actually finally won this game 3-1. We were playing another team that was also made up of all fifth graders. I had a good chat with the coach before the game and after the game, and the referee as well, because he played in the system. They said that while there's some flaws in how they construct their programs, and maybe that's a discussion for another day, because the families were not happy about the way tryouts were going, they just went the least path of resistance, and they would make teams. And basically, if they played together in third or fourth grade, they played together for the rest of the time, which has some advantages. But you'll see there's a couple players like that number 60 in blue that just could glue the ball to his foot. He was bigger, faster, stronger, better ball skills than practically everybody else on the field at the time. Would he benefit with playing with and against more difficult opponents closer to his thing? That's an argument that we can have on and off forever. But basically, at least it was a little bit more of a fair, if you will, fair fight in terms of the size difference was not too bad all over the place. That 60 was the exception. There's always also that 92 was a pretty big boy. But this team here, honestly, I felt like of the the four that we've looked at, this one most consistently was different from the others. Don't mind the wobbling here. It was incredibly windy, and at 2x, it really accentuates that motion there. But of the four that you watched, this one here was probably, I would say to you, is the exception for most of it. I know we only watched some clips of the other ones, but this one here would be the one that I would say in person. I felt like, hey, these kids are trying to do something different. They're definitely not as trained as the other ones were to do something else. So let's go talk a little bit after we'll pull this down. And I'll go into the conclusion and honestly, probably just a bit of a rant. Okay, there. So now we've seen clips from four of my most recent games, and maybe my clip selection wasn't the best all the way around. But I hope you could see what I saw in person. And what I saw from most of these teams with these big kids is that every time somebody got the ball in their foot, their first thought was, not can I find another player, but how far can I get it up the field? And so, as I said in that third clip with all the kids in blue, it was incredibly blatant. Like every single time a kid got a ball next to his foot, did not look up, did not look for a player, did not look for a teammate. They literally just turned and fired the ball. If they had a free shot and didn't have any pressure on them, just fire the ball as how they can. Excuse my kid yelling at his video games in the other room. Um, and so it was really it becomes one of these games where you go, well, are these teams in Division 2 because they're basically doing the youth soccer trope? Take the biggest, fastest kids, stick them on the team, lump the ball into the other end, and chase the ball down, and either with your size, your speed, or your combination, beat up on the other teams. Is that why they were all in Division 2 last year and they had positive records? Part of me is going to argue and say perhaps yes, because A, you could see the size of a lot of these kids in comparison. I know the camera's up high and sometimes distorts perspective, but there was no comparison. My biggest, tallest kid against most of these other teams were giving up 3, 4, 5, 6 inches and anywhere from 30 to 60 pounds. Like, just an enormous amount of difference. And some of my average and smaller kids were perhaps giving up even more. I mean, it's a couple of times, a couple of our kids didn't even come up to their shoulder, like chest level type of deal. And so in a 1v1 battle, whether we like it or not, when you're running towards the ball and you're trying to jockey against a player, that player, if they have at least the same speed as you're not moving that mass out of the way. It's just not possible. And while I relish that challenge for my kids and it's good for them, these teams had no other way to play. All they did, you notice probably in those videos, every single time a keeper got the ball, there was no short pass, medium pass, roll the ball out. It was punt the ball as far down the field as you could and chase it down. And those teams had some success because it's difficult. You can't head the ball, all those sort of things. So the defenders, if they don't pick that ball cleanly out of the air and judge the flight of that ball, which is hard for, fifth and sixth graders, then the advantage is going to be for those attackers running onto it, waiting for it to bounce, skip past the defender, and try and control it after the fact. And while that is a strategy to get the ball up the field and play, these teams had no other way to play. And this really came into play in our last, the couple of games as we started to get to grips with what was going on. My team started to pull back further and further. Second halves of most of these games, we dominated. We just couldn't score for whatever reason. But the teams that we're playing against, we would just say it out loud, like, just back up and absorb the long ball because they can't play any other way. And we're saying it right in front of their coaches. And the fact of the matter was, is they couldn't play out. So we would pull back. We would leave the defensive line with 20 yards of space, and not once did they try to play a ball short and keep the ball. They just kept lumping the ball up, and because we had backed up, we just kept absorbing it and coming at them, coming at them, coming at them. But really, I don't understand. Like, I get that if winning is all you care about, then maybe you go with this formula. And I'm not, some might say I'm a purist in terms of like, I want to play beautifully and play nice out of the back, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is, at this age, if you don't teach them how to do that, they don't have any options as they get older in terms of being able to do that. What a really interesting couple of threads on my subreddit that I'm on with other soccer coaches is coaches complaining like, hey, my 11v11 team, it's their first year in, and we used to be able to get in with our speed and get in behind the other back line and have more scoring chances, and now we can't seem to get the ball up, and I can't get my midfielders to connect with the ball, etc., etc. And my comment to all of them was, did you do it in 7v7 and 9v9? Or did you do what we just watched on the video, which is you just lump the ball forward every time you had an opportunity? Because if you did that for the past 4 years and you had some winning success, then your kids are programmed, I'm going to lump the ball up. The thing that happens is that 11v11 field is twice as big as a 9v9, or in some regards, maybe 3 times as big, because some of these 9v9 fields that these kids are playing on are super tiny. These kids who are in 7th and 8th grade cannot kick a ball 60 yards in the air. Most of them can't. And if they are, they play in MLS or ECNL or someplace else. And so that strategy of, hey, every time I get the ball, lump it forward, and my couple of strikers are going to stay way up the field and get it. Your strikers never get the ball because it never gets that far. And so that's kind of my complaint, my rant. I don't know what it is right now, but it just got me fired up to make this video. Are you coaches that have experience moving into 11v11 and have some experience going there? Because I can tell you, I have a whole town's worth that I watch, and we actually purposely structure our 11v11 play around the fact that we can't lump the ball that far up the field, when we play these other teams. Because again, the field size difference is enormous. It's way bigger than you think it is if you've never moved to that level of game. And again, if your town is playing on 99 fields that are not actually 99 fields, and now you're stepping onto, let's say, a high school field, that change is shocking. Shocking how big that field is. So I'm not saying that there isn't a point for direct football, soccer. We do it too. If it's shown to us, we do it. But the fact is my kids have multiple ways of doing it. When they're given short options, they play it. But when the other team is like, okay, we're going to press right up because we don't think you could do it, we're happy with playing medium and long passes. That last game, I didn't show the clip. My striker was standing and the other team had pushed so far up and spread so far out, he was literally had 20 yards on either side of him where the two center backs were. My center back, who was taking a goal kick because we were going to play into the middle, looked up and just launched the ball 50 yards up the field, and my striker just ran onto it. And for the fact that it was turf and bouncing weirdly, basically would have had a breakaway. Not afraid to play Route 1 direct football, but it can't be the only thing you do. So sorry if this is a rant. I'd really like to know what you see out there. I appreciate all of you watching. If there's something from those video clips you want to see more of, maybe you do want to watch a game with me. I don't know why, but if you do and that's interesting, I'm happy to do it. I did it at 7v7 and some folks liked it, but I've been reluctant to try it again. But all I can say is I'd love to hear more of what you're seeing out there. I hope you're having a better start to the season than I am here, both weather-wise and results-wise. And I'll see you out in the fields. See you real soon. Bye-bye.